Hello everyone, I want to play a game. In this video you will see and hear a review, actually another back-to-back review of the next two installments of the Saw franchise. If you have not seen the next two movies you are about to hear reviewed, you have been warned. The choice is yours to watch this. Let the game begin. Hey everyone, and to all my fellow YouTubers, my name's Duel, also known as the Big D of Big D's Entertainment Rankings and Reviews. And yep, I'm back with another back-to-back review of the Saw franchise. This time, I bring to you first Saw 5 from 2008. Now, I'm going to say that this is kind of much more of a different take. It's kind of gone on the downward spiral after the last movie, and this is where the series didn't do so well. Now, Tobin Bell once again is back. I mean, even though we had lost the character of Jigsaw, John Kramer, of course, in the last movie. Costas Mandylor is back as Detective Hoffman, and Scott Patterson as Agent Strom. And plus lots of others. So anyway, the movie starts out with murderer Seth Baxter, who wakes up chained to a table beneath a pendulum blade. The videotape with the supposed Jigsaw killer's voice going through the mysterious Billy puppet informs him that he can release himself by crushing his hands between two presses. He does so, but the blade still swings down and cuts him in half as someone watches through a hole in the wall, and thus our title card comes up. Now, of course, we get to see what happens in the end of the previous movie. Of course, Agent Strom shot Jeff Dillon and is locked in the sick room and discovers a hidden exit and a micro cassette recorder, which urges him to stay in the sick room, but he ignores it and is attacked in a tunnel by a pig-masked figure, and wakes up with his head sealed in a box being filled with water, but survives by performing tracheotomy with his pen. And outside, Detective Hartman delivers young Corbett, the daughter of Jeff, to the police and claims that they are the only survivors, but is shocked when Strom is brought out alive as well. Anyway, Hoffman is now promoted to detective lieutenant at a press conference and credited with closing the case. But soon he finds a note that reads, "I know you are," and learns of Lindsay Perez's death from the previous movie while taking Strom's phone. And at the hospital, Strom tells Hoffman Perez's last words were Detective Hoffman. Anyway, he is visited by his boss, Dan Erickson, who puts him on medical leave. Now suspicious of Hoffman and determined to piece together his involvement with Jigsaw, Strom takes case files of past victims and begins researching them on his own. Anyway, meanwhile, 5 people awaken in an underground room with collars attached to them. The keys are in individual glass boxes. Excuse me, everyone. Sorry, I didn't mean to look away for a sec. Turn my head, sorry. But anyway, the videotape says that all 5 of them are connected and implores them to do the opposite of their instincts throughout the game. They are also told to solve the puzzles and leave the rooms before the timer expires. And the jar of explosive in each corner of the rooms will explode. Let's see. This guy named Malik, an arsonist, activates the timer and everyone must try to reach for their key, but the wires are connected to the other participants, so they must go one at a time. Everyone managed to reach for their keys except a former fire inspector named Ashley, who was decapitated when the cars retract. Yeah, that's alright and all, but no. Anyway, in the next room, they have learned that the overhead jars contain keys to 3 bomb shelters. An investigative journalist named Charles strikes Malik and begins smashing the jars one by one. A real estate president named Britt and Luba, a city planner, each find a key, and Charles takes Malik's only to be struck by Luba and left to die when the bombs detonate. In the next room, 5 short cables must be connected to a full bathtub to unlock the door. So, they deduce that someone will have to stay in the bathtub while the others escape. Luba attacks Malik to use his body for this, but Britt stabs her and they use her body to unlock the door. In the 4th room, Malik and Britt find a machine fitted with 5 circular saws and a beaker requiring 10 pints of blood. Now, this I kind of would say would be my favorite Saw trap of this movie. Yeah, the traps are kind of a little, I don't know. Now, the bathtub trap I think is good too. So this kind of would be a draw for my favorite Saw trap for this. Anyway, now Brett tries to use the keys from the first room to open the door, but she learns that all the keys are the same. So Malik notes the 5 holes, and they realize that all 5 of them were meant to work together to survive the game. Yeah. In the first room, they could have used the keys on each other to unlock the collars. In the second room, the bomb shelters were big enough for more than one person. And in the third room, they all needed to attach a cable to themselves, which would unlock the door. Anyway, Britt works out their connection. They were all involved with a building fire that killed 8 people. With no other options, they saw their arms to provide the blood needed to leave the room. Meanwhile, Strom learns that Baxter killed Hoffman's sister and was released from prison on a technicality. So, as revenge, Hoffman abducted and killed Baxter using the pendulum trap to frame Jigsaw. It is revealed through flashbacks that he was later abducted by John Kramer, alias Jigsaw. He blackmailed him into working with him. They set up most of the games together. Yeah. Including planting Dr. Goring from the first movie's pen light and providing the police files for the nerve gas house victims for the second movie. Strom realizes in the end that everyone was meant to die in the plant except for Corbin and Hoffman, who would appear to be the hero. So, his activities soon draw Erickson's attention, which is further fueled when Jill, who received a box and a videotape from John's will, approaches Erickson and claims Strom is stalking her. After Hoffman calls Erickson to tell him about Strom's theory of a second accomplice, he tries to call him, but Hoffman, having Strom's phone, turns it off. So, Erickson puts a tracker on Strom's cell phone and follows him to the observation room, finds the cell phone and his own personnel files, which were planted by Hoffman, and finds Britt, who managed to crawl out of the room after Malik had passed out from blood loss. So, Erickson calls for medical attention for the victims and puts on all points bulletin on Strom. Strom later follows Hoffman to the renovated nerve gas house, finds an underground room containing a clear box full of shards of broken glass. So Hoffman's tape urges Strom to enter the box, but he stops it short and ambushes Hoffman. After a brief struggle, he seals Hoffman in the box, which seals the room's exit. And Hoffman points to the tape, which warns Strom that if he does not enter the box, he will die, and Jigsaw's legacy will become his. The box is safely lowered into the floor as the walls close in on Strom, who unsuccessfully attempts to escape through the ceiling grid, is crushed to death. And that's how the movie goes. Anyway, it's like I said, if you are watching this and you've not seen this, you've been warned. But anyway, I'm sure a lot of you horror fanatics have seen the Saw franchise. The film was directed by David Hackle, who was a production designer for the last 3 installments, and the second unit director of 3 and 4. Yeah, the last 2. He made his directorial debut in this. Anyway, what did I think of the movie? Well, I'm going to say it was good in some ways. This isn't really my favorite of them, but, well, I consider this to be good in some ways. Now, like I said, the saw blade blood pint thing, that trap, that was good. So was the bathtub trap. I think that was good too. But like I said, not quite my favorite of the Saw series, but it tries its best and all. Well, anyway, let's keep the reviews going. Let's proceed to 2009's Saw 6. Directed by Kevin Greutert. Yeah. Who served as editor for all the previous Saw films. Makes his directorial debut in this. Anyway. Now, I will tell you that... Let me see. Yeah. This one was a bit of a big redemption. Now, of course, we get the characters back of Hoffman, Erickson, played by Mark Rolston. I forgot to mention that. And others. Also, Shawnee Smith returns in flashback sequences as Amanda after we hadn't seen her for some time, even though she had a little slight appearance in the 4th one, but we didn't see her fully until, well, since the 3rd film. Anyway, let's begin. What I have to say, what the movie's about. Now, 2 lenders wake up in a room with a caged-in scale wearing head harnesses with screws aimed at their temples, and the one who sets more flash weight on the scale will survive, but the other will get the screws injected into their temple. Guy named Eddie cuts fat off from his torso, but Simone takes a big risk and chops off her arm, making her the winner of the game. Yep, so Eddie's killed once the timer expires. Meanwhile, Detective Hoffman exits the glass coffin from the last movie to safety and sees Agent Strom's corpse. He also notices that Strom's right hand was unharmed. So he reviews the game footage from Eddie and Simone. He is called over by FBI agent Erickson, who found Strom's fingerprints at the scene. Also present is Lindsay Perez, whose survival was covered up by Erickson for her protection. So they learned from Dr. Adam Hefner, the coroner who performed the autopsies for all the Jigsaw victims so far, that the knife used to cut the jigsaw piece from A's flesh was only used once before on Seth Baxter. So the agents intend to find the guy's audio tape to prove Strom's involvement. So at the hospital to meet with Simone, Hoffman is met by reporter Pamela Jenkins, who claims to have found something at the meatpacking plant. But he dismisses her and later meets Jill at her clinic and tells her that he is taking control of the games. Jill gives him 5 envelopes from the box left to her in John Kramer's will. which we soon found out has lots of stuff, including some traps and even a pig. I think a pig head and, of course, a hooded robe. Yes. Containing photos of people that would be tested. So a flashback reveals that John brought Amanda to Jill, who had deemed her a lost cause as proof that his methods work. Now, another flashback, Jill delivers a package from the box to the hospital, shows that Jill met with John at the meatpacking plant before his death, where he gave her the box's key and his promise that she would be protected when the games ended. Now, meanwhile, William Easton, an insurance executive, meets with Debbie, the company's attorney, about Harold Abbott, who succumbed to heart disease after his coverage request was denied to an appreciation discrepancy. Then Ahmed ducks Easton from his office and brings him to an abandoned zoo. Now, I think that's a pretty good setting, though. That is a good setting for this one. Where he and his janitor, Hank, awaken in vises designed to tie around their torsos each time they breathe into oxygen masks strapped to their faces. John himself appears in the videotape and informs William that he has 1 hour to complete 4 tests and remove the bomb strapped to his limbs, or he will never see his family again. Hank is a heavy smoker and is unable to hold his breath and is killed by the vise. So, William's other tests force him to choose which of his workers to save from various traps. Soon flashbacks show that John met William at the opening of Jill's clinic and took issue with his formula for only deeming policyholders worthy of coverage. After his cancer was diagnosed, John's coverage request for an experimental Norwegian treatment was rejected by William. Excuse me. The game is viewed by a woman named Tara and her son Brent from a cage below the observation room, which contains a tank of hydrofluoric acid and the switch marked live and die. Now, Pamela awakens in their cage on the other side of the room. During the game, Hoffman is called away by Erickson and Perez, who found the Seth Baker audio tape and are having it unscrambled by an off-site technician. They inform him that abnormalities were found in Strom's fingerprints, and Erickson eventually reveals their knowledge of Strom's death. When his voice is unscrambled from the tape, Hoffman kills everyone in the room, and soon Perez mockingly telling him that everyone already knows of his involvement before she dies. He then plants the fingerprints using Strom's severed hand before dousing fuel on the room and setting on fire to destroy the evidence. Soon he returns to the observation room and finds the letter that he wrote to Amanda. Now, in which he had used his knowledge of her role in Jill's miscarriage to blackmail her into killing Dr. Denlin from, well, I believe a few movies back. The letter was found by Pamela and given to Jill, who uses it to ambush Hoffman as William reaches the end of his path with 1 second left, finding himself between the cages. Now, I didn't get a chance. Now, I should have mentioned the traps. Now, one of them included a hanging room where he had to try and rescue one of 2 people who was being hung by barbed wire. And that was pretty intense. The next one was, can't remember, someone who was locked up in a steam room, and if he didn't save her, had this kind of a thing around her, and it had someone that would pierce right through her head through her temple, to her neck. Which, believe me, that is gonna hurt like a you-know-what. But anyway, and the last one's a carousel trap. That was probably the best trap in the movie because it had 6 people go on there, clients or people who were, well, that's kind of hard to explain because this was only the second time I've watched this movie, and he had to kind of press these 2 buttons, and which caused him to bleed and save one from being shot by a shotgun. He could only save 2 of them, and 4 of the others get shot by that shotgun. Yeah. Anyway, soon, in the end, after Williams reaches the end, he is revealed that Pamela is his sister, and Tara and Brent are Harold's family. Tara is informed by a videotape from John that she can either kill William or free him using the switch. When she is unable to make the decision, Brent angrily shifts the switch to die. The bed of needles swing down, injecting William's body with the acid, killing him as Brent, Tara, and Pamela watch over. And that is a, you guessed it, ooh, that's gotta hurt! Now, the piercing sequence from the steam room, that also has to hurt too. Yeah. Anyway. Jill restrains Hoffman, locks a new reverse bear trap to his head. Yeah. If you might remember, that was the thing that Amanda had on in the first movie. She allows him the 6th envelope, well, shows him the envelope from John's will, the 6th one, which contains his photo, and leaves him with 45 seconds, but no key. Hoffman escapes by breaking his hand free to free his wrist restraints, and jams the trap in window bars as it activates. He then pulls his head free, ripping open his cheek in the process, and screams in agony. Ooh, yep. That's how the story goes. Now, of course, this film opened where it opened at number 2 at the box office, losing to the original Paranormal Activity, which I have never seen the Paranormal Activity franchise. I don't know if I want to or not. Been having thoughts on those types of movies. But anyway, Saw 6, I think, is a little bit more of a improvement over the 5th one, but you don't have to take my word for it. Where will that wind up on the ranking? Well, you'll see. But anyway, that's going to do it for my latest back-to-back review of the Saw franchise. Tell me what you thought about Saw 5 and Saw 6 in the comments section. Like and subscribe to my channel, and thank you very much for watching. Join me tomorrow when I conclude the series with Saw the Final Chapter and Jigsaw. And then after that, I will do a ranking of the Saw franchise. You can also check out my channel for all sorts of other spectacular stuff. If you haven't checked out any of my other stuff, I'd appreciate it. And I'm happy to say I'm getting close to 150 subscribers. I've now reached 141. I'd like to try and hopefully get 9 more. If I can get to 150, it don't matter when. If that can happen, I might do my next Q&A after that. All right? I sure would appreciate that. Anyway, thank you again for watching. Until next time, I'm the Big V saying, see ya and game over.